here is the president officially introducing his $1.8 trillion American Families Plan and explaining how he intends to pay for that expansion of health care, child care, and education.
American Families Plan will provide access to quality, affordable child care. We guarantee what I'm proposing in legislation, we guarantee that low and middle-income families will pay no more than 7% of their income for high-quality care for children up to the age of 5. The most hard-pressed working families won't have to spend a dime. Third, the American Families Plan will finally provide up to 12 weeks of paid leave and medical leave, family medical leave. We're one of the few industrial countries in the world. No one should have to choose between a job and a paycheck or taking care of themselves and their loved ones or parent or spouse or child. 12 years is no longer enough today to compete with the rest of the world in the 21st century. That's why my American Families Plan guarantees 4 additional years of public education for every person in America, starting as early as we can. The great universities in this country have conducted studies of the last 10 years. It shows that adding 2 years of universal high-quality preschool for every 3-year-old and 4-year-old, no matter what background they come from, puts them in a position to be able to compete all the way through 12 years. So, how do we pay for my jobs and family plan? I made it clear we can do it without increasing the deficits. Let's start with what I will not do. I will not impose any tax increase on people making less than $400,000. But it's time for corporate America and the wealthiest 1% of Americans to just begin to pay their fair share. Just their fair share.
Steve, if you look at these programs taken one by pollsters, you look at the SNAP polls last night, wildly popular programs, also extraordinarily expensive, a $1.9 trillion COVID relief plan, a $1.8 trillion education plan, a $2.3 infrastructure plan. Last year, I think we spent $4 trillion on COVID relief. As Everett Dirksen would say, a trillion here, a trillion there. After a while, it adds up to real money. Very popular, but those numbers, can those numbers be matched by closing loopholes in corporations and taxing the wealthiest Americans?
Actually, I think, Joe, Everett Dirksen said $1 billion here, $1 billion there, and now we're up to $1 trillion here, $1 trillion there. That's how the world has moved on in the last 40 or 50 years. Look, I think there's 2 issues here. One, on the revenue side, can it be covered by revenues? Theoretically, it can be. Even the president's proposal would take, in the case of the American Jobs Plan, 15 years of revenues to pay for 8 years of expenses. So it's not quite apples to apples there. And already the tax increases are being negotiated down. The corporate tax rate will probably not go all the way to 28. It'll go to 25. The increases in taxes in this bill are going to be popular, but I don't know, and certainly increasing capital gains rates toward ordinary income will be popular. I don't think it'll get all the way to the 42 or 43% that the president's proposing. So there probably will be a gap between the revenues and the expenses. But what I really worry about is the size and magnitude about this. You guys have talked very eloquently about the sweep, the transformation, the support for this. We had 50 years of small government under robust government under FDR. We had 40 years of relatively small government, and now we're back to robust government. And if you look at this chart, Joe, you can take the numbers you were just talking about and see it all put together. You can see the $1.9 trillion from the rescue plan, $2.25 trillion from the jobs plan, now another $1.8 trillion. So it's $6 trillion in addition, as you pointed out, to last year. And just to put this into some perspective, what you can see all the way over on the right is the Obama stimulus plan, which was $800 billion. So you're talking about something like 7 times the size of that. and you're talking about comparing it to $4.4 trillion a year that the government spends on everything. This is over a longer period of time, in fairness. It includes some tax credits, in fairness, but you're talking about almost 50% more than the government spends just in 1 year, just on its normal activities. And what I worry about, sure, I worry about inflation. Sure, I worry about the deficit and the debt. But I also worry about the execution job here. I mean, this is a massive execution job. The last plan, the jobs plan alone, had 76 separate initiatives in it. All have to be created and executed. President Obama's plan got a lot of criticism for some very, very small mistakes. The potential for mistakes, failure of execution here is high. And if it fails, I think it will set back the cause of progressivism for several more decades. So getting it proposed is important. Getting it passed will be hard, as you guys were just talking about. But getting it executed, I think, in some ways is going to be the president's biggest challenge. He's got to deliver not just passage, but actual real results for Americans and programs that people perceive are working, or else we go back to government being the enemy again.
Well, and Willie, we certainly, whatever happens here, whether it's executed well or not, you will have a government that will have little money to spend on new projects in years to come. That's why it's going to be so fascinating to see how the compromises break out, how much these massive spending bills proposals are moderated. But on the other side of that, Steve is worrying about progressives. If they spend this money and don't execute well, it sets back the progressive cause for a generation. I'm concerned about conservatism. The fact that, again, as I've said on the show for 4 years, 5 years, that conservatives were setting themselves up for the fall, setting themselves up exactly for this moment, because they completely abandoned their small government conservative principles. And now they forget about talking about the numbers. In the past, Republicans would be digging through the bills, debating policy. Now they're reduced to talking about Mr. Potato Head, cancel culture, Major League Baseball, Dr. Seuss.
With no credibility on spending.
With absolutely no credibility on spending, and they don't have a speaker, unlike Paul Ryan. They don't have a speaker who can at least talk about policy. They don't have a majority leader or a minority leader in the House that can talk about that. Instead, he reads Dr. Seuss books on the same day that one of the most sweeping relief bills ever are passed.
Yeah, the central attack on the speech last night that we heard afterward from most Republicans was that this was a socialist agenda, that it's too much government, they're spending too much money, which, as you point out, rings hollow given their record over the last several years. Mitt Romney said, boy, $6 trillion. Bernie Sanders is going to love that. And Bernie Sanders, in fact, did come out and say how much he'd love that, and he looked forward to getting right to work on it. But Steve Rattner, I think most people watching this show and this audience probably, and progressives across the country, say this is all good. This is like FDR meeting a crisis with the New Deal. We have a crisis in front of us right now. We've got to spend money. What's the other side of that, though? What's your concern over the horizon, not as a Republican, of course, in your case, but just as somebody who worries about the balance sheet of the government?
Well, you know, it's interesting, Willie, because apropos comment was made a minute ago, I didn't think Tim Scott made a great case against this. They haven't really been able to take it on frontally. I think the three things that I worry about it are, one, execution, as I said. I won't repeat all that. Secondly, I think there are real concerns around inflation. You can already see signs of it in prices for lumber. If you go to rent a car right now from Hertz or Avis, you're going to find the prices are much higher. All over the place, you're seeing people starting to spend money again, and that is going to put pressure on prices. It's not going to happen quickly. I don't think we're going back to the 1960s or early 1970s, but there's going to be almost certainly an uptick in inflation, and the question is, will it be restrained? And then the last question, of course, is the debt and the deficit. The Cassandras have been predicting the end of the world for debt and deficit for a long time and have not been right. And I'm not going to predict here that it's going to happen because of this. But at some point, it could. And certainly, at the very, very least, we're adding an enormous amount of debt that will have to be serviced. And as Joe said, it does squeeze out or prevent really much else from getting done for the foreseeable future, because the government has effectively shot its bazooka. It shot its biggest weapon at this problem, and it has to work.
Yeah. You know, also, I've got to say, and Steve, I'm sure you can echo this, You talk to small business owners. You talk to larger business owners. You talk to people who are trying to hire help for the summer, who are trying to hire employees for the summer. We had Stephanie Ruhle talking about this last night. You have restaurants that want to reopen. Their biggest problem is they're having a hard time getting people back into work. Now, this is the sort of thing that, well, sometimes you say that on TV and people get upset. There's no reason to get upset. In reality, this is something that I hear from progressive restaurant owners who say their biggest challenge right now is getting people in the door to start working. And I've been hearing this now for about 6-7 months, and they go back to a lot of these relief checks. Hey, thanks so much for watching our YouTube channel. You can follow up on today's top stories and breaking news, or catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.